Hey, it's your boy E Tally. We back at it again with high school hoops talk with the talking heads. I am Eric Tally again. Like I said, I got a very special guest that I met along the ways that I was in Indianapolis, Indiana to be exact. Go ahead, special guest. Say who you are.
I'm Caleb Oldham, coach at Fishers High School here in the suburb of Indianapolis, and then also coach Indiana Basketball Club, 17U, play on the Adidas Gold, and qualified for 3 SSB this year.
And one, coach, let me just get the audience up to speed in reference to why am I interviewing someone all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana. And to be honest with you, coach, like I told you when I met you, I thought you had your young men really well prepared for the game, and then we kind of got into talking about training and then aspects of just basketball, and you just caught my attention. The fact that you guys been state for the last 2 years, winning one of the two, and then just how much you really care about your players and getting them to the next level.
Yeah, yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's great talking to you there too. Yeah, so I coach at Fishers High School in Indianapolis. It's on the northeast side of Indianapolis. It's a pretty nice area. The north side of Indianapolis is um, pretty. Pretty affluent, I would say. There's a lot of money on the north side of Indianapolis. So, coach at Fishers High School, we have about 35 to 3,800 students. We're somewhere in that range, and we've had the best 2 year run in Indiana State history as far as basketball wise since Oscar Robertson played back in the 50s. We were 29-1 2 years ago, won the state championship. And then this past year, we were 30-1, and we lost in the state championship to Jeffersonville High School from Southern Indiana by 1 in overtime. So heartbreaker to not go back to back. There's only been like 3 or 4 teams ever to go back to back. So the fact that we fell a little short was devastating. But at the same time, we've had a very good run, and luckily for us, it does not look like that's going to stop over the next 2 to 3, 4 years.
And that's one of the feats here, and same thing for Texas. We have had schools to go back to back, and then as far as we have their classifications, of
Yep.
course, you
Yep.
guys go as far as 4A or 5A. What's the highest
Four.
you guys?
Well, 4 for basketball. We'll go as high as 6 for football, just because football's a little bit different, with the speed and the physicality. But basketball, we only go to 4 classes.
Okay, and like you said already, you kind of been, I'm not gonna call you out the kings yet because at the same time you haven't done the back to back piece, but you guys kind of
Right.
been the big brothers on campus for a while in that 4A division, right?
Yeah, for a few years. It's not always been this way. So Fishers High School has only been here since 2007, I believe, was our
Okay.
first year. It was a school long time ago, and then it consolidated into our rival school, Hamilton Southeastern. And then that school got so big back in 2007, they brought back Fishers High School. So we had never actually. So for Indiana, the way it works is the postseason, everybody makes a tournament. So it's a little bit different than some states. Everybody makes it. So Fishers had never won. You go sectional, regional, semi-state, and state. Fishers had never even won a sectional until we did it back in 2024. Now, granted, our sectional is incredibly hard. You're dealing with probably the best public high school sectional opening round in the country. 2 years ago when we won it all, the number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, number 7, and number 21 were all in our sectional in 4A. So it's a loaded sectional. It's very hard to do. But we had good years prior to that. Back in 2021, we lost to Westfield, which had Braden Smith, who's the point guard at Purdue now. We were 21-2, and we got beat that night. And then the year prior to winning it all, we were kind of close to 500. We had a 5-star named Jalen Harrelson that's at Notre Dame now. But all of our guys at that time were really young. So, it just took a little bit of time. But as for the last 2 years, yeah, we have been the premier program in Indiana, along with some others that have done very well. But nobody has been able to luckily match what we've been able to sustain over those 2 years.
So can you give us a little bit background about yourself? How long have you been coaching?
Yeah.
And what one of the bright sides of you coaching, and then of course having a family.
Yeah. So for me, I actually started coaching in high school whenever I was a player still. My high school had a public service project that you had to do in order to graduate as part of the curriculum. So I decided that I always wanted to be a coach. So I asked if I could be the seventh grade B team coach, just because my brothers were in middle school at that time. I didn't necessarily want to coach them. So I coached the B team. So I did that, really liked it. I had some very minor like talks about like playing D3 basketball, but I was strictly a role player. I was a really good shooter, and that was about it. Like I couldn't do anything else. So playing in college was not going to be something for me probably. Um, so I just went into coaching immediately after high school. I was a volunteer for 3 years, and then I got the chance to. I actually met the current guy I work for now. I met him playing pickup basketball, and he was leaving a middle school job in Bloomington, which is where Indiana University is located. So I actually kind of took his spot as he left and became an assistant for a guy named Mark Sims, who really taught me a lot. He's in the corporate finance world, but he's a phenomenal basketball coach. And then got my opportunity from there, and I've just kind of been, growing ever since. The middle school I was in the Bloomington South system, which is one of the probably 3 or 4 most successful programs in Indiana in the last 25 years. Not necessarily the last 5 years, but over the last 25 years, been phenomenal. So I learned a lot there, and then I got the chance to go to Southport High School on the south side of Indianapolis. Very well regarded for one of the best high school gyms in America. It seats like 20 or 7,800 people. It's huge. And then since then, I've been with Coach Weiniger at Fishers High School since 2020. We came here during the pandemic, and have been here since. And then, for me, just coaching is the biggest. The biggest thing is like kind of giving back to. I can't play anymore, so giving back to the game that I love and has given me so much. I've met people that grew up completely different than I did as a kid in Southern Indiana. Totally different experiences, and I mean, now I have the opportunity to coach players that are better than anything I ever saw growing up. So it's been a blessing, but it's been a journey for sure. It's been a journey. A lot of free time given for no money, and a lot of late nights with little sleep. So, but I wouldn't trade it for anything.
And that's why, again, like I told you before we started the interview, I think coaching is one of the by far the selfless jobs that's out here, and people just don't really realize the sacrifices that you guys make, and like you said, for the small amount of money that you guys get.
Right.
Yeah, of course, the pros and the college level, they see the financial, the finances that can come with it. But again, at the
Right.
level you're at, man, you're putting so much time in, and you're being the true the person that directs the orchestra from that level, just teaching them so much, just kind of just like wow.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. It's fun. I mean, we had a kid named Justin Kirby who is going to be a freshman at Miami of Ohio this year. He was a really great player for us. But you talk about that, pouring in and developing. I mean, I remember watching him in 8th grade whenever we first got to Fishers, and he was on the B team at that time. Now, granted, he was behind for his age. I think all 5 of the guys ahead of him, or 6 of the guys ahead of him, are playing Division I, either football or basketball. So I mean, he was behind some very legitimate players, but at the same time, he's a B team player, and he stuck with it. Played his freshman year, played JV with me his sophomore year, and then the last 2 years he's just dominated varsity. So it's fun. That's the fun part of high school, is like if you have a really good sustainable program, you get to watch these guys go from young kid to now he's going to be getting minutes this year for a team in the MAC that was one step away from the NCAA tournament.
So we're talking about the players as far as your coaching. So for this year upcoming, what are some of the guys the state of Indiana, the high school level, need to be keeping eyes on? That's really you're happy to be coaching right now.
Yeah, I'll talk about I'll talk about my AAU guys first, just because they're seniors. This year I had Deshaun Ladd, who played AAU for me. Really athletic player. He's got offers from probably like almost every school in the MAC, along with some Sun Belt schools.
And which number was he, Coach?
Number 13.
Okay.
Long,
Yep.
wiry kid.
Yep.
He actually didn't play super well against you guys when we played. He was dealing with a little bit of an ankle tweak. But the one that really stood out against the team that you coached was Nick Shrewsbury. He's the son of Micah Shrewsbury, the head coach at Notre Dame. He'll probably end up going there, I would imagine, although he is open to a recruitment. And then Sherman Moss is another guard. He plays with Jashawn in high school ball. They play at Ben Davis on the west side of Indianapolis. 6'4" guard, high D2 offers, and I think he's going to get a couple D1s this week. I've at least talked to a couple that have really liked him. And then guys like Maverick Young, who will be a really, really good NAIA player here in Indiana, Eli Seago. But then you also talk about guys outside of my team. You've got a kid named Noah Smith that plays for Grand Park Premier. He's got offers from a lot of schools and a few out west. And then Justin Curry, Baron Walker from our rival high school have some pretty significant Division I offers. And then as far as for us at Fishers, we have Kai McGrew, who is a 6'8", 6'9", big guy. He's got offers from like Southeast Missouri, Kent State, Akron, a few other schools. His recruitment's really starting to pick up. And then for our team specifically, outside of him, we have the two best guards in the 2027 class, probably in the Midwest, and Jason Gardner Jr. and Cooper Zachary, both of which have a lot of Division I offers. Jason's got a little bit higher, more of the Power 4 offers right now. He just picked up an offer from Texas a few weeks ago. And I think Houston is interested in him, but I'm not sure if they've offered. His dad is an assistant at Arizona. He's got Indiana, Purdue, Notre Dame, Creighton, Bradley, a bunch of schools around here. And then Cooper Zachary is the best three-point shooter in Indiana. He also plays for us at Fishers, and he has a myriad of Division I offers as well. And I would say Power 4s will be probably coming soon if I had to guess, but I'm not privy to who he's talked to since we left school ball in June.
So it sounds like you guys, do a great job, getting kids to come into your school. Is that because of the involvement of the middle schools that's kind of feeding into your schools, or how does that work as far as why do kids want to come to Fisher?
Well, I think it's kind of two-parted. One, our head coach is probably the most well-known for player development in the state. He is phenomenal. Our head coach is Garrett Weiniger. He's a younger guy. He's about, I think he turns 33 tomorrow. One of my absolute best friends. He does a phenomenal job. Player development, that's his background. But it's kind of interesting. Most schools, and I don't know how it is in Texas, but most schools, it's like, okay, if you go to middle school there, that's where you're going to high school, in Indiana, for us, in Indiana, it's pretty much the same. But for us, we're a split district with Hamilton Southeastern. So we kind of have to recruit our own middle school kids. And I say recruit, and that's just kind of a broad term. Really, you have to build relationships because they can choose where they want to go. They can come to us or they can come to Hamilton Southeastern. We generally, we stick to the guys that are at the Fishers primary middle schools and we talk to them, but we have gotten kids that come from the other side that want to play for us. What those reasons are different in every situation. But I would imagine it's because they've seen what we've done with guys like Justin Kirby, John Anthony Hall, who's going to be a football player at Stanford, but it was a really good basketball player. Jeffrey Simmons was a very good player for us. He's a tight end at Miami of Ohio, Ball State. He transferred to Ball State. And then just what we've done with Jason and Cooper. I mean, Jason and Cooper are phenomenal players, but we've been able to help, extenuate their skill set since they came into high school. And then when you have somebody as well known as a player like Jalen Harrelson was for us a few years ago, that obviously brought attention to our program. So I think it's a lot of different things, but as far as middle school involvement, we run middle school fall clinics, spring clinics, fall clinic, or summer clinics, summer camps. We coach our youth players in February. In February, it's pretty common in Indiana that after middle school season dies down in January, high school staffs will then coach their middle school teams in February and like weekend tournaments. That's something we do every year. I generally take the 8th grade. Our freshman coach generally takes the 7th grade or vice versa, whatever our head coach decides for that year. But we really don't go more than a month and a half without seeing our youth players in some capacity. That's kind of generally our time frame of when we, see them, is every other month or so. So we're very involved, but yeah, it's a little different just because students in Hamilton Southeastern District can choose whether they want to come to us or whether they want to go to HSE. Again, we only talk to or engage with players that we know are districted straight to us. Like we know they're coming to us. But players from the other side, so to speak, can come to us if they want to, and our players could go to HSC if they would like to. So it's just kind of up to the families and kind of what they want and what their reason would be for coming to us or going to them. So,
Yeah, if I'm right, correct me. You guys are in the Hoosiers Crossroad Conference,
yeah, Hoosier Crossroad Classic or Conference HCC. Yep,
and I see you guys went undefeated last year,
last 2 years.
last 2 years.
Yep.
Who out of that conference this year? I'm not gonna say you worried about, because we don't want to give anybody bulletin board.
We worry about all of them. They're all good. It's the best. It's the best public high school conference in the country. It's so hard. It's so hard.
What team gives you the most fits?
I think it's cyclical. I mean, we'll be going into year 6 of this. The first couple of years, I would have said Brownsburg. They're coached by a really good coach named Steve Lynch. They had Cannon Catchings, who some of your people out there may be familiar with. He's at BYU, or at least he was. I don't know if he's transferred. I haven't followed up with where he is now. The last 2 years, it's been Westfield and Noblesville have been the two really prominent quote unquote threats, but everybody's a threat. So I use that term loosely because everybody is. Zionsville plays us very tough. I mean, even this year, Zionsville didn't have the best record in the world, but they took us to not overtime. They took us to the fourth quarter, and we were trailing with about 3.5 to go. And we found a way to pull that out. And they also gave us a pretty tough game in the sectional as well. So it's kind of cyclical. Like this upcoming year, I would say Noblesville for sure. Our rival HSE will be very good this year. They bring a lot back. Westfield is very well coached, and they're very, very hard to play against. Very, very hard. So yeah, I mean, kind of those. But again, they're all difficult. There's no gimmies in our conference at all. And I know everybody says that, but when you look at the scores and you look at how games kind of shake out, it kind of paints the picture.
Well, let's talk about your non-conference games then, because those guys are going to play you tough anyway. They see you, they kind of prepare for you guys anyway. So what about your non-conference? How well or how much do you use your non-conference games to get you prepared for your conference games? And who's on the schedule that you really want to hey, there's some powerhouses there.
Yeah, we actually it's really hard for us in a sense because we're such a big school that so few schools actually want to play us. So it's like we really don't have that many options. It's not like college where you can pay somebody to come play you. You know what I mean? So we play pretty much everybody in Indiana. That's also a powerhouse program. We played Ben Davis, who is a perennial power from the west side of Indianapolis. We play them first game of the year every year, and we played them in the state finals 2 years ago when we won it. I'm trying to think of other non-conference games because they all feel so difficult that they all blend together. Center Grove on the south side of Indianapolis is usually very good. Now, last year we beat them pretty thoroughly, but they had graduated a lot, and we brought a lot back this year. It will be a really competitive game again. 2 years ago, they took us to double overtime, and we had to hit a 3 at the horn to win it, and they were very, very good. Teams outside of our conference, necessarily that we don't necessarily play, but we've played in the tournament. Crown Point will be very good this year. They're up near Gary, Indiana. South Bend Riley is very solid. We played them in season and in the tournament. Kokomo a few years ago had Flory Badunga, who plays at Kansas now. They're a non-conference opponent that we played twice. So we play a myriad of really, really good opponents. Pike is very good. They're coached by former NBA player Jeff Teague. Carmel is not in our sectional, or is in our sectional, but not in our conference. They're always tough. So we play about anybody that will play us, and that generally is like the best of the best, especially when you've had such a pretty historic run over the last 2 years. It is hard to get people to play us, but at the same time, we like to play the best. So we kind of search out specific candidates whenever we have those openings. Our head coach handles all that, and I don't actually know who's on our non-conference slate yet this year, just because we're still putting it together. Because we had some contracts expire, and we've also had some showcases that we play in. Like we played in the O'Fallon showcase and played 2 teams from Illinois the last 2 years. And then this year, I believe we're playing in a huge national event in Dayton, Ohio, but I can't confirm if we are or not.
So it looks like you guys play about just as many games as we do here in Texas, 30 to 40 games.
Yeah.
And with saying that, where do you see the state for high school, state of Indiana right now for your basketball program? Just not just your high school, but your AAU. Just where do you see the state of basketball in Indiana right now? Is it good?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, the state is. I mean, it's kind of like we talked about when I saw you here in Indy. It's kind of like Texas football, where it's a religion. People here, all the old timers, kind of complain about, oh, gyms aren't as full as they used to be. I would disagree. I think gyms are as full as they've ever been. People want to go out and see really good players. We have really good players. But every year is a little bit different. Like the 2025 class that just graduated was incredibly top heavy, especially when they were freshmen and sophomores before a few kids transferred to prep schools. But, the 2025 class in Indiana alone, you had Jalen Harrelson, who played for us and then transferred to Longmire. He's going to Notre Dame. Trent Sisley played at Heritage Hills. He was a 4-star recruit. He played at Heritage Hills and then transferred to Montverde. He's going to Indiana, which shout out Trent Sisley. I'm a huge IU fan. And then, Braylon Mullins was our Mr. Basketball. He's going to UConn, one of the best shooters in the entire country. Desmond Briscoe, Michael Cooper, Trey Singleton going to Northwestern. So the 2025 class was incredibly top heavy with like premier talent. And then there was kind of a drop after that. The gap between the A-list players and the B-list players in 2025 was pretty noticeable. Whereas like in Indiana this year, we don't necessarily have like the household name, I guess, just so to speak, or somebody that's got, a ton of P4 offers, but we have hundreds of, borderline Division I and Division II kids with hundreds of kids that are NAIA Division III good, who are really good players. So it kind of changes year to year, kind of like what you get. Like in the 2027 class, it's kind of balanced where you'll have Jason Gardner, who plays for us, Cooper Zachary plays for us, Isaiah Hill, who's getting a lot of attention, Jahari Miller, who's getting a lot of attention from Pike, Mac Welker, who's at Homestead, getting a lot of attention. And then you've got a myriad again of Division III and NAIA players in there too. So it's pretty cyclical, but Indiana high school basketball is very healthy. 2 years ago for us, when we played in the sectional finals against Noblesville, it was number 1 versus number 2, and we had 7,000 people in the stands. And that was before tip-off. I can remember we were getting ready for warm-ups, and my wife at the time, or my wife was my fiance at the time, and I told her, like, you're going to have to get there. Like, we tip at 7:30. You have to get there at 6:30. You're not going to get in. Like, I'm just telling you. And I can remember I was standing doing warm-ups with our team pregame, and they opened the doors, and people were literally sprinting to seats because there's no assigned seating in any gym. So we had, I would imagine, 72 to 7,300 people in that gym. Whatever Noblesville can hold, we were at the max for sure. And that was well before tip-off. So, we played in the regional the next week, and we had 10,000 people watching us play Kokomo. And then in the state finals this year, it sold out with, I think, 16 or 17,000. We hold the state finals at Gamebridge Fieldhouse, home of the Pacers, and they sold it out, and they said it sold out within a matter of hours before the game started, specifically to watch the 4A state championship. So It's very healthy. A lot of really good players, a lot of really good coaches. That's the thing that I think a lot of people don't understand with Indiana high school basketball is how many great high school coaches we have here. I mean, we have just so many, so many.
So real quick, as far as just kind of, because again, you're going to have a lot of people looking at you from the state of Texas.
Yeah.
So for the run you guys go on to make
hmm
it to state, is
hmm
it what you play preseason games or non-conference games, and you play a conference and then you go into the playoffs, or
Yeah.
that
No. So
typically?
every conference is a little bit different. Every conference governs itself. In Indiana, we have the IHSAA, which is the governing body that oversees rules, violations, transfers, all that kind of stuff. So the way it works is you get one preseason scrimmage, and that's formatted specifically. There's two different ways you can do it. You can play 5 quarters, or you can play 4 quarters. 5 quarters dictates a little bit. You get more playing time, but they dictate it even heavier what you can do. And then 4 quarters is kind of up to the two individual coaches. A lot of teams do the 5 quarter way. Um, so like for you get one preseason scrimmage, and then you are responsible for building your schedule however you want from there. Except, and again, like I said, conferences govern themselves. So for us, our conference, everybody plays a conference game on the same night. So like our third game of the year, we would play Noblesville, which is our just north of us. They're in a conference with us. That night, I think, is like December 6th. Everybody else in the conference is playing someone else in the conference. So, like, Zionsville might be playing Brownsburg that night, or Franklin Central is playing Avon. However it works, we all play a conference game the same night, unless there's a snow out. If it snows, then you're free to make it up wherever you can. But we have non-conference opponents scheduled in all over the place. We'll play 2 conference games back to back, and then a non-conference, or 4 non-conference, and then we're back to conference. So it just kind of varies from there. But the way it goes is you just have regular season, and then you have sectionals, which is the first round. That's people around you. Our sectional is Noblesville, HSE, us, Carmel, Westfield, and Zionsville. And then you have regionals, which regionals is that is a team near you in the same level for a. So for us, the last 2 years we have, and the way Indiana does it too is a little weird. We don't go based off seeding. There is no seeding. It's random draw, blind draw. Yeah. So you could have number 1 versus number 2 on the first night of the postseason, which there's a lot of discussion about that right now, about how we format that. Football has gotten a lot of flack for that, at the state level, and they have actually made it to where this year I think it's seeded, and it's seeded based on a computer metric system called the Sagarin rating. Basketball is not there yet. So Indiana, it's random draw. So your random draw for the first round of sectionals, you could get a bye, you could not, however the ping pong balls bounce. And then from there, they also draw which regional you go into. So it used to be you were automatically like, it used to be our sectional 8 always played Kokomo sectional, always, no matter what. Now it's you could play anybody from the northern half of the state. So now we could play somebody from South Bend in regionals or LaPorte in regionals. It has happened to where the last 2 years we've still played the Kokomo regional, but it's not guaranteed that way. And then they redraw once you get to semi-state. Semi-state is the final 4 from your half of the state. So, or the final 4 from your half of the state. So it's the Elite 8 overall. They redraw which opponent you get for semi-state. So for us this last year in semi-state, we had us, Homestead from Fort Wayne, South Bend Riley, and Crown Point. We could have played any of those schools. We ended up drawing South Bend Riley for our first game, and then we played the winner of Homestead and Crown Point, which ended up being Crown Point. So, and then you played state finals. So the way the tournament has been formatted has changed over the years, but that is what it currently is right now. So you're still on mute here. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Yeah, I try to keep that background as I'm outside, man. They got a bunch of jets. We close to a air base here.
Okay.
They be flying over quite often, so I didn't want you to hear that background noise.
No, it's all good.
But you're one of the coaches, and you're part of a school system there that has had a lot of success. So, with that being said, what advice would you give a younger coach or someone just getting into the game there in Indiana, just wanting to say, hey, follow your path. Hey, I want to
Yeah.
coach.
Yeah. One, I think, I mean, God, I could give a lot of things that I've learned because nobody in my family ever coached before me. I'm nobody was even a basketball person before me, so I've kind of had to learn as I go, and I've been really lucky. I think I'll kind of give you three here. One, I would say put yourself around people that really know what's going on. Like one thing I love at Fisher's is I walk in the room every single day and have since I've gotten there. And I'm the longest tenured assistant left. I'm the only one from the original staff left, which is a good thing. But it's also like I'm the last kind of like Will Smith in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air when everybody's gone. One of our other assistants, Miles Ware, just got a head coaching job, and he's one of my best friends, so I miss him dearly. But I would say for me, like I walk in the office every day at Fisher's and I get better. Our head coach is phenomenal. I mean, I can't say enough good things about him, both as a person. He's one of my best friends, but also he is very, very good at what he does. And then we also have, a high level assistant that just joined our staff this year named CJ Walker, who played at Ohio State. And then we have KJ Weaver, who, was a college coach that's on our staff. So I learn a lot from those guys. So I'd say one, surround yourself around people that are really, really smart and take the time to teach you yourself. Two, I would say always remember it's about the players. Players dictate everything. Any good coach I've ever had in my life is good because of good players. Now, good coaches make players better, but I've been a coach to where I've been undefeated as a coach. I've had a season where I was 20-2. I've had a year where I was 19-3, but I've also had a season when I was a freshman coach that I was 1-21. And I think a lot of things I did were similar, but at the same time, my players were just a little bit different, more talented, less talented, whatever. But you always have to keep in perspective. It's about the players. This is their experience. I get to coach for however long I want to. They get to play for 4 years. So it's about the players. And I really try to make it to where it's like when we win, players did a great job. They did exactly what they were supposed to. When we lose, it's my fault. It's not their fault. It's my fault. Now they share responsibility in it, but ultimately it's my fault. So I think keeping it that way, but also like I think that helps you build relationships with players. And the number one thing that you need with players is trust and honesty, no matter what. My AAU kids and my JV players and any player at Fishers know like honesty is what you're going to get. And if you don't like that, then, sorry about you, but I'll still tell you I love you and we'll get you to where you need to go. So you can't sell players short. You can't lie to them. Players always know. You have to be genuine. And then third, I would say kind of find where you want to specialize, and that can change. For me as a young coach and less experienced, I worried a lot about offense. And I naturally have a pretty good offensive mind, which I'm thankful for. But I've really tried to, and I pretty much have, formulated my style now to where I worry about defense more than anything because you have to, it's cliche and everybody says it, but defense does win. At Fisher's for the last 5 years, we've been one of the best defensive teams in the state, and that's a huge, huge reason why we've been so good. Is because we just smother you on defense. We pressure, we're physical, and we do a lot of things like that. We talk about getting on the floor first and taking charges, but at the same time, like I said, you can evolve, so I've gone from kind of an offensive minded coach to now defensive. And even my offensive philosophy has changed. When I was younger, I was probably a little insecure. So I tried to be a set heavy coach where I wanted to show sets are where you really show how smart you are. That's what I thought. What I really realized is the best coaches are the ones that are so good at conceptual offense, which is motion based, that that's where I've really tried to grow the last few years. And that's where I've really, I think, hitting my stride as a coach. When we played, I didn't call that much stuff because that's not how I like to be anymore. I like to train my players in practice. This is the blueprint. This is what we want. These are the three concepts or three main messages I want you to have. Go out and play. And then if you screw around or if you don't know, or if you're struggling to figure it out, then I've got stuff I can go to help you out. But I really like an AAU specifically being motion oriented because a lot of teams can't guard motion, especially out of state teams from Indiana can't guard motion. So it's one, it's an inherent advantage, and two, it helps showcase players' natural abilities, which then allow them to get recruited by the schools that they need to get recruited by.
Glad you said that. You kind of transition to my next question. You having your hands on so many well-rounded basketball players that are really, really good and that can
Right.
play at the D1 level. What are some of your specific drills or techniques that you like to teach them or show them to make sure? Because one of the things we talked about, we were talking about the layups.
Yeah.
You rather the ball be kicked
Yeah.
versus a contested layup. And when you told me that, I was like, man, I'd never thought of it that way. Yeah. We teach our kids, hey, man, you go hard to the rack and don't get knocked off line to show that you
Yeah.
can, you can take that. But then you made me think about that. And now I've added that to my little coaching toolbox that I have now. So,
Yeah.
what are some of the drills that you guys are teaching out there to kind of show that?
Drills would be kind of hard to explain. I would say I'll give you more of like concepts or things that we talk about.
Okay.
So conceptually, we talk about space, pace, ball, and player movement are kind of the big 3 to 4 things. I lump ball and player movement in kind of together to make three. And again, that derives from my head coach at Fishers. That's him. That's our concept at Fishers. I just take it and put it to AAU. And so it's not necessarily mine. It's just what I've stolen, but some things that we talk about is one, shot selection is the biggest thing for me. Taking a questionable shot is no worse than a turnover, because how often do you see high school players hit step backs or, fadeaways or, how often do they make, those running like, one thing that drives me nuts is when players take layups like you're talking about outside the frame of the backboard. It's such a low percentage shot because you're going to have to do one of two things. One, you're going to have to change your angle off the backboard, either higher or lower, or you're going to have to spin it. Well, either one of those things add variables, and variables often lead to missed shots. That's why when you see players like a big player here in Indiana is Tyrese Halliburton. Tyrese Halliburton is kind of a streaky shooter, and I love him to death, but he's a streaky shooter. He's a streaky shooter because he has a lot of variables in a shot. So when we talk about, jump shots or shot selection or whatever, we want as few variables as possible. The most repetitive, the cleanest, the best chance at consistency as possible. And then we talk about other things that eliminate turnovers, like catching the ball with one hand, passing the ball with one hand. If you pass the ball with one hand, you don't have the ability to pass fake and bring it back if that pass isn't there. If you catch the ball with one hand, then you're leaving a 50% chance for the ball to go out of bounds. Like I always tell players, God gave you two hands for a reason. Why don't we use both? So those are kind of some things we talk about. And then we talk about advantages. We talk about when you drive to the basket, do you have a small advantage, which is a chest to chest or a shoulder to chest relationship? So if I'm attacking and you're on my left shoulder, if my shoulder is to your chest, I have a small advantage, which means that you're not fully in front of me, but you're still there to affect my shot. If there's no contact where I'm completely separate of any defender, that's a big advantage. We say that we want to finish and attack big advantages. We'll take small advantages, but we want big advantages. And then one thing for me personally, that's just I'm huge on spacing. So we talk about gaps, single gap, double gap, triple gap. Whenever I teach my JV players, we talk about single gaps. We don't like, or we don't want single gaps. We like double gaps. We love triple gaps. So what we're trying to do is we never, ever want to attack a single gap because that means that so a single gap for us would be you have an offensive player within 10 feet of space of you, right? Which can be covered by one defender who has his arms out. That's one defender covering that gap. Therefore, we don't like that. So then I physically, every first day of practice, I show them, like I get out there and I extend my arms like I am now. This is one of me. So this is one gap. It takes two of me to cover a double gap. It takes three of me to cover a triple gap. There's not three of me out here. There's only one. So we want triple gaps as much as possible. And we do that by down screening, cut throughs, back screens. I'm a big back screen coach, huge on back screens. And then, just other things that I find, beneficial. Like I really like my teams to play on the baseline and 45 cut, which is a cut from the elbow. So if the elbow extended out beyond the 3-point line is called the 45. We didn't get very many of them against you guys, but we did get them that night against North Dakota Phenoms, we got a lot of 45 cuts. So it's just all about what you emphasize. Like I said, I emphasize space, pace, and ball and player movement. And then beyond that, 45 cuts, back screens, flares, and then post touches. One thing that we do a lot at Fishers is we do a lot off of post touches where we'll throw it in the paint and then we move off of it. We get a lot of stuff off of that.
Well, one of the things that stood out too when we played you guys ran the ball, you just ran up and down the court really well.
Yep.
And you sub well too. You did a great job subbing because it didn't like you guys got tired at all because you was making the right subs and the right reads. And again,
Helps when you have a Division I player coming off your bench. That helps a lot.
that is true. That is true. So, how much is strength and conditioning part of not just your AAU program, but also your high school program? How much goes into that?
I mean, it's just so paramount. At Fishers, we lift 4 days a week. We'd lift more if we could. It's just kind of the way our schedule breaks down at school. Minimum 3, preferred 4 days a week. It's something that I really harped on with my AAU guys. I mean, this is no news to him if he ever hears this, but my best player in AAU, Deshaun Ladd, he has to get stronger. Like right now, he's 6'4", 6'5", and about 175 to 180 pounds. He's a freak athlete. But what I think a lot of schools probably at the P4 level are worried about is, can he take the physicality as a freshman? And my argument to them is like he'll be able to, just give him the chance. Let him get to campus and put on 10 to 15 pounds. So it can separate a player from being a MAC level player to a P4 player, or a Division I player to a Division II player. It really, you can really see it in freshmen. Like one thing that we see a lot in Indiana is a lot of freshmen that are really, really good will play at a lower, like 1 or 2A school, because they are, I wouldn't say afraid of the physicality. They just know that it's going to be very difficult for them at the 4A level to play with the physicality of, 18-year-old men. I mean, John Anthony Hall was our starting 2 guard the last 2 years, and he's every bit of, I would say John Anthony's every bit of 205, if not more. He could be more. I have no idea. But like, he's playing football at Stanford this year. When you look at him, you're like, oh my God. He looks like an actor playing someone in high school that you can clearly tell is not a high school, age person. Keenan Gardner for us 2 years ago was 6'6". He's playing at Central Michigan now. He was 6'6", every bit of 235, 240, if not more. And it wasn't like, fat. It was just pure muscle. And he was such a matchup problem for people with his speed and strength. So yeah, we are huge on it at Fishers, where we track everything to vertical, standing vertical, running vertical, 1 foot vertical, lane agility. We do at Fishers, we do a college combine every year with one of our fall practices, where we invite as many schools as we possibly can. And we do literally an NBA combine style, where we do broad jumps, 3/4 court sprints, lane slides, vertical jump, all that kind of stuff. So it's something we take very, very paramount for our players. It's a good tracking tool as well. But yeah, it's every day. It's not a question. It's not debatable. You will work hard in the weight room, or you will suffer, the consequences, both
Right.
playing time and your effectiveness of how you play. So
that leads into my next question. How many players do you guys have on Fisher that are dual sport athletes? Football, baseball, track?
that's a good question. I'd have to think about it. Right now, I would say, are you talking about the varsity level, or all of our guys,
Which
like
is all
freshmen, young freshmen?
yeah, like let's just stick with varsity.
Just varsity?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just varsity. I think right now we only have one football player. In the past we've had a couple. Yeah, I think right now it's only one. Maybe no, two. We have a freshman big that'll play tight end for football as well. And then one of our wings is playing football for the first time actually this year as a senior. But yeah, I mean, in the past we've had Jeffrey Simmons, who's our school's all-time leading scorer. He was a tight end, so he played football. John Anthony Hall was our defensive stopper team captain for the last 3 years. He was a football kid. Like I said a few different times, he's going to play at Stanford this year. probably play a lot as a freshman. He'll play on Sundays one day. I mean, he's got every bit of the talent to do that. And then like we have a few kids that'll do track, but not very many baseball kids. No tennis, no golf. I mean, we just have so many kids in the school. I mean, when you have 3,600 kids that you're going to have, and it's not because we try to prioritize them to do that. We tell our players they're more than fine to do that, and we have great relationships with our other coaches. Our students, our players just happen to be just kind of basketball guys right now.
Right.
Now at the freshman age, we do have probably 5 to 7 of them that play football,
Okay.
and then another 3 that play baseball. So it's just kind of one of those things as players get older in our school, they seem to kind of, I guess, specialize, but that's of no pressure from our staff whatsoever. We've never told a player they should or should not play a sport.
So last question before I do a fun fact with you, or
Okay.
you do a fun fact with us.
Okay.
How do you juggle it all? How do you juggle, because are you a teacher at Fisher or?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm,
So
yeah.
that's
So
even, yeah, that's even
yeah,
harder.
yeah. So I'm in the process of getting. So yeah, you wait till you hear this. So I'm in the process of getting my teaching degree. I was a student in Indiana, and then I lost my mother back when I was in school. So I took some time off, and then got some really good jobs in between there. So I never finished my degree. So I'm doing that now. My wife and I are celebrating our 1 year anniversary today, and we are any day from having our firstborn son. Yeah. So and then so I'm about to be back to school, first time dad, still new husband. On top of all that, and that was one I had a job offer to take a head coaching job this past summer, and decided that I didn't really feel like being a first time dad, still new husband, back to school, and a first time head coach. All at the same time. So that was a big reason why. And I just love Fishers so much that I'm still at Fishers. But yeah, so I do the JV as well, which is having another team to be responsible for. So I mean, I juggle it really well. I feel like my wife might say differently depending on the day, but in my classroom duty, I'm not a full on teacher. I work in a special ed, situation where I deal with kids with learning and emotional disabilities. So I don't have a set like classroom with curriculum and all that kind of stuff. It's more of a reactionary type of thing where I'm helping tutor them in certain subjects, or just trying to be an ear that they can kind of bounce things off of. So I do have free time during the day at times. It's not common, but at times. But I do a lot of my work at night. I'm a night owl after my wife goes to sleep. So whether it's film or whatever. I mean, it's nothing for me to be up until 1 to 2 a.m. Especially on a back to back watching film. I and then I do all of our other stuff with max preps and huddle, and I do all stats, do all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's a lot for sure, but it's nothing like I've never felt like I worked once at it. It's just what I do. It's part of the grind. Um, the difficulty has come, and it's a blessing, but the difficulty's been like when you go on that run in the state tournament, that's another month of all of that. And then I go right into AAU the last 2 years. Now, whether or not I do AAU going forward, I'm not sure. Since my group graduated, I'm not sure what that holds for me. But yeah, I mean, I really haven't had any time off from basketball other than the last 2 Augusts, in the last 24 months. So burnout is a real thing. I definitely felt it last year prior to my wife and I getting married. I definitely felt that this year, not as much, because I just didn't travel as much with my wife being pregnant. But yeah, it's a grind, and you either have to be in it or you have to be like, you can't do it halfway. Like if you're going to coach at the 4A level in Indiana, you can't do it halfway. You just can't. There's no way. You either have to be all in or all out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just lucky I have a great wife who takes care of everything for me. My dog is happy to see me whenever I come home. And now, I have a son, and that'll change things here in the next few weeks. But yeah, I mean, just I don't really. I guess to answer your question, I don't really know. I just do. I don't know any way to explain it.
Well, it seems like every coach I've talked to in the past, if they do have someone in their life, as far as wife, or
Yeah.
girlfriend, that's their rock. That's what
Yeah.
it usually is. That's the person
Yeah.
holding them down and making sure
Yeah.
they where they're supposed to be and doing all the great things. Because again, someone has to make sure they, I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
hold your hand, but hold your hand a
Yeah.
little bit, because that life you have is a hectic life at times. And again,
It's so great because my wife is a labor and delivery nurse. So she comes to every game she possibly can. Her dad coached years. I don't think he coached while she was well, after she was born, but he coached prior to. And they're from Illinois, and they watch my in-laws watch every game on stream, and they're very involved. But my wife is our biggest fan at Fishers. She knows every kid. She knows if Tommy played well, or if Cooper played well, or if John Anthony didn't play the way that he normally does. Like, she knows.
right, right.
She gets it. But I told her on like literally our first date, I told her, I was like, this is who I am. This is what I do. You have to be like all in, because I never thought I'd see my wife after our first date. So I just laid it all out for her. But yeah, so she gets it. She handles it really well. Now, obviously, there's times where she's like, "Hey, you've watched enough film for the day. Let's do something together," and that's totally fair. And I
Right.
always try to make time for her. But yeah, I mean, there's no way that, because I dated girls prior to her that did not like that I coached.
Right.
You can't be a coach's wife if you're not all in. So as much as I'm
Right.
all in, she's all in as well. And I imagine that'll only grow once our son's born here in the next week or so. So
All right, Coach. This is the time of the episode that we always ask for a fun fact. Give us
okay.
something that only you know about yourself that you want to share with everybody. That's why it's called a fun fact.
Uh, man, I'm not a very interesting dude. I would say the most interesting thing about me, or the thing that people question the most whenever I tell them, is I never learned how to ride a bike as a kid. So I don't know how to. I'm 31 years old and don't know how to ride a bike.
Oh,
Um, I guess the other interesting thing is I work in a school now that has more people in it than the town I grew up in. So there's that too. So yeah,
there you go.
every day I go to work, there's more people in one building than there was whenever I was growing up in the whole town. So
How
yeah.
many people's in your town?
So I grew up in Owen County, Indiana, which was just west of Bloomington.
Okay.
The town I grew up in was called Freedom, Indiana.
Freedom.
I think the last time the census was done, there were 60 people that lived there, and my family was, at that time, there would have been 8 of us. So So my family plus my uncle and my grandma, that was 8 of us. And then the town I went to school in was Spencer, so it was a county school. The
Okay.
town of Spencer was 2,600 that lived in the town.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so everybody from all different towns. We had
Right.
Patricksburg,
Yeah. I know
Freedom,
exactly what that
Clay
is.
City. Yeah, we all went to one high school, and we had a decent number of students. Like, we had I think 870. I
Right.
graduated with 155 or something like that.
Right.
But
Right.
yeah, every day I go to school and work. I am in a building with more people than was in the town of the school I was in, let alone the town I grew up in. So yeah, and I
Wow.
did not have. And it's funny because the students, they make fun of me because I tell them, like, you guys are so spoiled with just basic things like internet. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, I didn't have internet at my house growing up. We didn't have internet.
Yeah.
We were
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
had a nice, like, I grew up, my family had nice things. We had nice cars, brand new cars. Like, we had money. Like, that wasn't the problem. It was, we literally were in the middle of nowhere and did not have internet. So yeah, it's my son's in for a different upbringing than I had. So I look forward to that for him. But I'm gonna have to find ways to give him some adversity to
There you go.
have some toughness,
There
like
you
I
go. Exactly.
thankfully have.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Well, hey, Coach, thank you. I will
Yeah.
follow you guys this season. I'm going to watch you and make sure I keep in touch with you, check on you.
I
And I
appreciate
noticed also, man, you guys, your season starts a lot later than ours, about a month or two later than ours. I
just
think you
before
start.
Thanksgiving. Yep.
Yes,
Just
yes, and
before
ours
Thanksgiving.
started in October, I
Oh
believe.
wow.
Coaches
Yeah.
can touch the kids, yeah. And
Yeah.
again, we go from October all the way to February for the most part. That's where the
Okay.
state is run.
How
So
many games do you guys play?
I think they play 30. I want to say I think if it's all after it's all said and done, they make state and they go that far. I think it's a total of 40 games,
Okay,
but
so
it's just
about 10 more than what we
yeah,
would.
yeah,
Yeah,
just yeah, it's 30 games. I think that's the season, and then if you
yeah.
get into the playoffs, I think it winds up being like 30, I think 37, 38 now because they
Okay,
shortened the playoffs a little bit. So for us, you explained the way how you guys do it. Everything leading up to district for most schools, it all depends on how big your district is, of how
sure.
many teams is in it, how many games, because we play everybody twice. I saw
Okay,
you guys only play everybody once.
once. Yep,
So
yep.
so with that being said, that's where a lot of the games come from. So if you're in the 18, what's it
Conference,
district,
a
yeah,
district.
district, then you playing what, 15 games, 14
Yeah,
games.
yeah,
So
yeah. So it's a
14
home and
games,
home.
exactly, home and
Yeah.
away. So that
That's how Illinois does it too. That's
okay,
very, very similar to how Illinois operates. My wife's from Illinois. That's how they do it. They
okay.
play everybody home and home, and then you're not promised the playoffs, which
No,
I
you're
actually
not. Only
I
four teams
actually
make it from us.
yeah, I actually prefer, and it's what I'm used to, but I actually prefer how Indiana does it because one thing that I've noticed, because everybody always asks my wife, "Oh, are you guys going to move back and Caleb coach here?" I'm like, "No chance," because you don't practice as much.
Oh, okay.
We practice a lot, and I think that's another inherent advantage Indiana kids have is like we get to practice so much and like we play less. Like it's rare if we play 3 times in a week. Very rare. Like that would be a Tuesday. That would be a Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. That's very, very rare in Indiana. Back to backs are common, but it's not every week type of thing. So I
Yeah,
actually like the way we do it because I think players need to practice more than they play. That's just
right.
my opinion. So yeah, that's very similar to how Illinois does it. They play a lot, a lot.
Yeah, yeah. We play. We can practice. Our games are usually on Tuesday. Games can be on Tuesday, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and possibly Saturday if you do a tournament.
Okay. Yeah, it's very common in Indiana to be Friday, Saturday. Very, very common.
Yeah,
Nothing on Sundays.
no, nothing.
Very rarely do you see games played on Wednesdays. So, and it's very rare to have games on Mondays. A lot of smaller schools play on Mondays
Hmm.
because of official shortages.
Hmm.
So, some smaller schools or some like downtown inner city indie schools will play their, your
Right.
smaller indie schools downtown will play their games because of officiating needs.
Okay.
But it's very rare to see games for 2, 3, and 4A on
Right.
anything other than Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, Saturday. Thursday's pretty common too. That'd be a
Okay.
common day. But
Okay.
yeah, Friday, Saturday is the main day for sure.
Well, for me, I love it. The fact I get to report on it and talk about it.
Yeah.
So pretty much Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. A lot of the private schools, they do
Yeah.
Saturday games. So
Yeah.
I love it because
Yeah.
now I can worry about the big stuff Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, then Saturday I can just go there and enjoy. So yeah,
Do your Catholic or parochial schools have a different tournament than the public schools?
yes they do. It's called TAPS. Yes sir.
Okay.
Yes sir.
Yeah. In Indiana, we don't have that. It's everybody all together.
Really?
Yeah, it was a hot button thing there for a while.
Wow.
It's not as prevalent as it used to be. When I first moved to Indy, about my first year up here was 2018, so that would have been about 7 years ago. It was really a prominent thing for the first 2 years I was up here, like the conversation on social media and stuff. Now it is not as much so. It's still there, but it's not as much of a conversation. But for football, it definitely is. Football still deals a lot with the fight between public and private schools.
Well, this will be our first year trying to cover football. So I
Hmm.
don't know how football really is. I just know basketball, and I know basketball
Yeah,
it definitely keeps me entertained to where as though,
yeah,
all throughout the week I get to watch great basketball. So
yeah, yeah,
that's my
yeah,
passion. And hey, man, I love it. I love it.
yeah.
That's
Texas
why
basketball is growing, from what I can tell.
we're getting better. We're getting
Yeah,
better. And that's why, talking to you about it, you made a very good point in reference to how Texas is a football state and we just have a lot of athletic kids.
yeah,
I never looked at it from that standpoint of, hey, we're just having more athletes than we
hmm
do skill set, where that's why
hmm
you guys focus so much on the skill set side. So
yeah,
from the AAU side, you made me kind of bring back a nugget or two. and
Yeah.
I'm excited about our upcoming season.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, we'd love to have you come to a game sometime. I know it's a flight out here, but you
No,
can
I'll
watch
do it.
any of our games are online. They're streamed on YouTube. You just Google Fishers Tigers Athletics, and it's there. And then some games are televised for us, and some satellite programs do pick them up. And then we're in a lot of showcases and stuff like that. And
Well, let's make a deal. Since you guys start so your tournament is so much later than ours, because I saw that you guys actually went all the way to the late March.
yeah, March 30th. Yep.
So if that's the case this year, and we get there, and you guys are there, I'll make a way out there. You
All
got my
right.
word. I'll
Yeah.
make I'll make I'll make my way out there.
All right. Well, I appreciate that. The best time to come is sectional. Sectional is the best time. That's the
Okay.
best. That's the first round. That's where a lot of it. There's so much tradition with sectionals because that used to be before class basketball in Indiana. That used to be a lot of places like that's our state finals because we know we're not going to get all the way. So like
Right.
small towns would go crazy about sectional, but sectionals where you get those close like town to town, your rivals. The last 2 years we've played in front of about 7,000 people in 7,000 then 5,000 this year. Just depending on what the gym can hold. But sectional is the kind of the special one, just with the folklore. But the state finals is pretty big in 4A
Okay.
for sure.
Let's
sure.
do it.
Yep.
Like I said, I'm gonna put it on my calendar.
We get there, I'll have a ticket for you.
All right, I appreciate it. Don't worry, I'll try to see if I can give you a media pass. I'll try to see if I can actually get there.
Sounds good. No,
all right.
That sounds good. I appreciate you having me. I'm happy to jump on here anytime and do a small bit of teaching of Indiana high school basketball. You can talk to a lot smarter people than me, so I'm glad you.
No, man, I really enjoyed talking to you because you kind of just gave me some insight, and again, you didn't mind doing it, and I think you're doing it for the right reason. So I definitely like to have genuine people around me and keep those coaches that's doing it for all the right reasons around me. So thank you again, man.
I appreciate you having me. It's a lot of fun.
So let's set up an episode to check in on you once the season kind of gets started and rolling. Okay.
All right. Yep. Good time would be around Christmas. That's where we kind of figure some stuff out. So
that'd be perfect. All right, Coach. You have a good one.
All right, bro.
Thanks again.
Yep.